All right. I need to give an apology. And we'll look at some freight. So stay tuned. Give it about a minute. Fast forward if you're watching replay. And we'll get into this. Check one. Hey. Good morning. Good morning, good morning, good morning. How are you? I am fine. Ah, yes, generic intro. Some people complain about the music. I'm going to complain about the music. It's not long enough. Ha! All right, anyways, good morning. Hope all is well. I have to make an apology, but we'll let some more people get in here, so I'm not saying it like 58,196 times. It's Friday. It's what is it? It's May 3rd. Yeah, it's May 3rd. And I've got to look for freight. So I thought, why not do that live, right? There's a lot going on. Of course, Mother Trucker is formerly known as Asian Mai. He's been putting out a lot of videos of these trucking companies going out, like Arnold, and then Raven, I guess, just announced they're scaling back. Now, what's interesting is the headline read something like, big carrier is getting rid of drivers, and out of 350, they're getting rid of 50. But the headline made it sound worse than it actually is, and that's what us YouTubers do, right? That's what we do. We need to make the headlines to grab you. That's what CNN does. That's what Fox News does. And let me turn this down. And it gets you clicks, it gets you views, and maybe I don't utilize that enough. Maybe that's why I'm at 5,000 and someone like Alex is on, who's got 1 million or something like that. And there's nothing wrong with that. And it looks like I've misspelled the title. So, oh man, see if we can edit that. It's I forgot to put the F on Friday. So here we go. There we go. Save. Now I fixed it. Anyways, I say this because of, there are people that say, Steve, sometimes your videos depress me. I get it. I'm depressing. I can't watch myself. I can't, like, people want me to cut up my lives and make them into smaller videos, and I can barely watch myself. So that's a self-image thing. I don't know. Anyways, I'll get over it eventually, but here's the deal. I want to be real. I don't want to sit there and tell you that the sky is falling, but at the same time, I don't want you to think that it's all rainbows and unicorns if you're out there driving a truck and having to fight for every dollar that you make. And so it's a matter of trying to find balance. You know, balance is important. You know, we've talked about it in past live feeds. And you know, I had a great conversation with a friend of mine yesterday talking about balance, and you know, and things are imbalanced. They have been for a while, you know. And so but there comes a point, and here's where my apology is. I'm going to apologize for sometimes we dwell on the sky is falling. Sometimes we dwell on the fact that it's a negative market. And what that does is that doesn't help. Like, it helps, but it doesn't help. Like, if you're not awake, notice I didn't use the word, you know, WOKE. If you're not awake for what's going on in the industry, you know, and deeper than that, our country, then I don't think that there's going to be that one video or that one YouTuber or that one influencer that's going to, like, make you suddenly have your aha moment. You know, yesterday, you know, it's really cool when Jeff has me do the rate cons for the carrier. You know, basically, you know, he forwards me the rate cons when he's busy, and then I put them into our TMS system, our Axis TMS system. And it's really interesting to see what everybody's booking. It's interesting to see everybody's strategies. Like, I can get on Samsara and look at where everybody's at. And I notice the same patterns with the same drivers doing the same things and what their victories and their losses are. And it's interesting. It gives me a window to what the market is doing. Of course, you know, if I'm dispatching 4 or 5 drivers, I can tell you what the market is doing. Right now, I've only got a couple under my queue. And we can sit there and you know, Sage has been talking a lot about how things are happening now that he called out like a year ago, and he's been right on a lot of stuff. And we can talk about where this is going in the future, and we can dwell on that, but it's not solving the problems of today. Like, if I do that, it's not solving the problems today. And I've been pretty much preaching the same message for the last, I don't know, 5 years. You know, it's only been a year since I've been out of the truck. You know, it's only been since October since I was really out of the truck, because that's when I sold my truck. And I've been doing this YouTube thing for a long time. My OG channel's been around since 2008, I think. And sometimes I get burned out because I feel like I'm just saying the same thing over and over and over again. And a lot of people go like, Steve, man, I really watch your channel. You know, I listen to everything that you say. And then that's great. And if it has created a positive change, then that's great. But I don't want to be the reason why you're dwelling on all the negative. Like, And I know that that's where my apology is. I think I'm guilty of dwelling on what's going to happen, or what's, like, it's not solving a problem. Sometimes you just gotta, like, you can't imagine. I used to be this guy that would sit at the truck stop and just dwell on, overanalyze everything and just dwell on what was happening and dwell on the negative. And I wasn't getting anywhere except, more overweight and watching my bank account go down and watching my weight go up. And I would sit there and just, I couldn't get out of my own head. And I know that sometimes my videos, no, I don't want to see the weather right now, Microsoft. And I know that sometimes my videos can make a person do that. And I don't want to do that. I don't want to be the reason why you're sitting at a truck stop thinking that the world's going to end, when the most important and first thing you need to do is book a dang load and go. And so if I have given you a negative mindset or a negative outlook of trucking, I apologize, because that's not my intent. My intent is for people to look at this industry realistically with an open mind so you can make better decisions. I watched, like this, the broker transparency thing, just, it still blows my mind. Like, people are arguing about the smallest details in our industry. And it's not accomplishing anything. Just like our political system, the same arguments year after year. If you look at the campaign talking points for the last 50 years, you're going to realize that it's all exactly the same, right? And has any of it been solved? No. People have capitalized on the small little changes. They've capitalized on the emotions of others. And so my intention is to bring awareness to what the freight is doing. You guys, while everybody's arguing about broker transparency or the brokers are taking too much money, I'm looking at a load board trying to get a truck to move. I'm throwing out emails and making phone calls to try to better the situation. And I joke about, owning a truck is self-abuse, but for many of you, it is. Because how you're handling your business is the root of your suffering. And I think that's frustrating too. And Sage made a couple of good points, I think it was yesterday, about, and I've made a short about how not all great truck drivers are great business owners. This industry preys on the lack of info. Like, they take advantage of your lack of info, your lack of management skills, your lack of business management. They want to make you a slave because of that. And it's ruining your health, it's ruining your life, it's ruining your marriage. It's killing your credit score. And I just want people to be aware of the challenges that they're going to face before and during while they own a truck, because there's a lot of challenges out there. Challenges that could be overcome if you're smart and you have the right mindset. And what a lot of people realize during a down market is, maybe I don't have what it takes. And so you have to figure out, okay, why do you feel like you don't have what it takes? And then analyze that and then solve the issue from there. So basically, look at how you're struggling and sit there and go, why am I struggling? Well, it's the broker's fault. Okay, easy solution. Stop using brokers. Why am I struggling? Well, it's the government's fault. Well, then put yourself in a situation where, the government can't hurt you, which I think that's almost next to impossible. You have to look deep within yourself to know your weaknesses. There's a Bible quote about how God makes us strong through our weakness. And that's kind of what that says to me. It says, hey, recognize your weaknesses and create your strength. That's it. If you run the spot market but you're having trouble with the self-dispatch thing, figure out why. Is it because you overanalyze loads? Is it because you won't go to different places? Is it because you can't quite get the scheduling right? Or you're constantly fighting the ELD? It's figure out why. Okay, why is this self-dispatch? When we get a new driver at Like Trucking, after about a month or so, I call them and say, hey, man, how's it going? Is there anything I can help you with? How's the self-dispatch thing going? Now, majority of our drivers are coming from other self-dispatch situations, so they've kind of got it down. But then there are other people that, like, this is completely new to them. And I remember those days when I went to Landstar and suddenly was thrown, like, at the same time I became an owner operator and self-dispatch. And it was like fumbling around in the dark, man. I felt like a rookie all over again. And that, but you know what? That made me stronger. Those mistakes, as long as they didn't kill me or put me out of business, they made me stronger. And I've made that video with Landstar and all that. So, there are successful people right now. I mean, look at Shannon Thomas. She's stepping out on a limb. Jeff is pivoting towards, lease purchases. He and I had a really good couple of discussions about that. And it's great to work with somebody that values my opinion, because I gave him the opinion from a driver's mindset. And that's where a lot of companies fail. The person in charge of leases at these mega carriers, they aren't drivers. They've never been drivers, so they don't understand a lot of the aspects of the business. Do they understand business? Yeah. But they're also going to try to convince you that paying $5,000 a month for a truck is a good thing. And you have to question that, because I don't think it's a good thing. But that's just my personal opinion. Someone in heavy haul or specialized, they may differ. That $5,000 a month truck note is not a big deal. But if you're struggling to get $2 a mile in dry van freight, then yeah, it's going to be a problem. Paying 40 to 50 grand in interest on a $200,000 truck, man, that's a tough gig, man. And a lot of people go into that with their eyes closed. So again, I don't want to dwell on the negative. I just want to be real with you, and I want to show you that you can make money, but it's going to take a little bit of work, and it's going to take a little bit of ambition, and it's going to take a few aha moments to realize that, maybe I'm the problem. And when a person can sit there and say, maybe I'm the problem, then you can start healing and strengthening yourself. So anyways, there's my 2 cents. Let's go to the comments here. My name is Nobody. Good morning. When are you going to start rolling, my friend? I'm curious about that. Rocky morning to Jackknife TV, good to see you. Gary Cook, good morning. Charity, good morning. Dave Edwards, morning, getting unloaded and then head back towards home. Good deal. Home time is great. Surprisingly enjoying my Country Pride breakfast. There's still a couple of good ones out there left. Scott, what's up? Scott Rolla, morning, y'all. Good morning from Wildwood, Florida. Home time. There you go, Randy. Jose, what's up? It's okay, Snorelord. I do it all the time, LOL. Chuck with T-Bone, good morning. CDN, good morning, Steve. We simply need to identify new normal. Normal of 1 to 2 years ago is not coming back. Sorry if harsh reality check. In fact, constant change is the new norm. It's always been like that, though. CDN, and I agree with you. The volatility is normal. And that's the thing. It's like I don't know how else to describe it. Recognizing trends and patterns, and if all the brokers are doing one thing and all the drivers are doing another thing, you have to recognize that and maneuver around that. Right now all the brokers want pictures of your trucks. They want proof. They don't want Gmail. They don't want Yahoo Mail. They want, not all, but the majority of them are paranoid and are trying to put things in place about the fraud. And it's not paranoid. It's legit. The fraud is strong. And this is, just in the 2 years I've been dispatching, I've seen a ton of changes that's not only affecting the carrier's bottom line and my bottom line, but also the driver's bottom line. To have your own authority right now is a huge challenge, and you could be doing everything right, but then that insurance renewal, that was always, that's what gets you. That's the thing. That was always one of the things that held me back from getting my own authority was the insurance renewal. Everybody I know got reamed on their second and third year, especially if they started growing and then growing too fast. And that's how they get you. Oh yeah, you can get up to 5 trucks. And then when you get up to 5 trucks, they're like, yeah, guess what? No one else insure you, and we're going to up your thing by about 15, 20 grand. You're done. You're done. If someone has a bad inspection or put out a service, that hurts, man. Especially if you're a 1, 2, or 3 truck operation. But yet the brokers want these inspections. They want proof that you are who you are. They want pictures of the truck. They want pictures of the seal. They want pictures of you holding the bill sometimes. And that's the new normal. Now, at the time that I thought about getting my authority, that was pretty much the only threat, was that insurance renewal. Now it's like, I may not even be able to book a load with my own authority from a brokerage. So, Gen Z Trucking, morning all. Never again will I do a nursery load. Nightmare from start to finish. Maybe I got a bad one though. I'm sorry to laugh at you, but it's just I have a friend that was in the floral. I've had several friends in the floral industry, and it's definitely a special trip, right? So, but never say never. I'll say that. So, Romeland, what's up? Good morning. Gen C says, CDN, you're right. I hear truckers talk about the golden days like it'll go back to that one day. It won't. I don't hear anybody expecting them to come back. I mean, when I hear the golden days of trucking, I'm thinking of like the late 80s, the mid to late 80s when, CBs were still a thing and there was a camaraderie. But if you're talking about golden days, like getting $4 a mile for 1,000 miles, yeah, you're right, those aren't coming back, because that hit that hit a lot of shippers' pocketbooks, and they, like any other business, they need to reduce their costs, and they're doing everything within their power to reduce their cost in shipping. There's a lot of I sell T-shirts and stuff online. I don't think I have a whole lot of sales. I think I've made $100 in the last year, but I don't have to touch anything, and my profit margin is probably not much different than if I ordered all the shirts, housed them in the house here, printed them myself, and then mailed them out. I think that my profit margin is probably a lot better using a drop ship service. Same thing with the coffee, right? Speaking of which, cheers. But I will accept being proven wrong about normal. The volatility is normal. Jack Time says I dwell on realism. Yeah, and sometimes that's to a fault. Sometimes it's like, man, and look, there are people that have made moves that I said, man, I don't think that's a good idea, and they're doing okay with it. So I was wrong because I'm dwelling too much on the real. And that's what kept me from getting my own authority. I was like, man, what if this? What if that? And some people were cheerleading, saying, no, dude, you can do it. Do it. It's worth it. Rah. Quit depending on someone else. And I'm like, well, I'm not really dependent on anything. I could get my own authority, but man, I don't know. And now I definitely wouldn't do it unless I had a good contract, a good, steady, confident contract with a shipper here in town. What are the odds of that, especially since I don't own a truck anymore? No reason to apologize for putting it out there straight. Keep it real. Well, I want to keep it real, but I don't want people to run into the same trap that kept me from getting my own authority. I don't want people to run the same trap of overanalyzing everything and say, man, it's just kind of screwed, man, no matter what you do. Sometimes you just got to put your foot forward and just go. And that's where, I hope that I'm not distracting from that. Jack Knife says it rolls downhill in trucking. The transparency comes to brokers. Transparency will come to carriers. Can't wait to work for 25 cents a mile as an owner operator. Mrs. A, if they actually solved anything, they wouldn't have anything to campaign on next time. Bunch of losers. Talking about the political, yes. You're stepping on the live streaming while driving King Wheel Burner. I'll forgive you, liking the down to earth topic you're on right now. Well, I saw him go live. I went in there and said hi, and I was like, man, it sucks. I'm going to have to step on him because I always go live every Friday morning. And look, his followers and like, I don't think I put a dent. Like, he definitely puts a dent in my followers, I think, because we have a lot of the same followers. But, I mean, the guy's, his replays on his live feeds have been extraordinary. He's at 10,000 subscribers, so good on him. He's probably more interesting, too. So, I don't agree with the driving while live streaming. I mean, I think that's, like, as a safety manager, that a lot of companies are cracking down on that. And that could be a bad thing. So, especially if something happens. So, we'll just hope for the best. But, yeah, tell Wheel Burner I'm sorry. There are many successful owner operators in 2024. You can succeed in any market. And that's the key. And that's what I try to hopefully help people with is how to be successful regardless of what the market is doing. Not even successful, just surviving. Like, okay, this is survival time. Every life goes through seasons. Everything goes through seasons, right? And, in order to survive the winter, you got to store up in the summer, right? Make hay while the sun shines, blah, 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 cliche. But it's true. It's You got to do what you got to do, right? And so if you have a $5,000 a month truck note, that makes it a lot harder to survive each season. If you have $1,000 truck note and a healthy maintenance account and a good mechanic, you can pretty much survive anything. And those three things all have to coincide, because you can have a ton of money in the bank for maintenance with a paid off truck, but one bad mechanic, a set of 3 or 4 bad shops at one time trying to diagnose a problem could wipe that out just like that. Just like that. So it's important to have a mechanic that you trust. It's important to have a shop that doesn't just throw parts and hopes for the best. I'll give you a perfect example. I had to take my little tiny car into the shop. It's a mechanic I trust. They put in a new transmission a year ago, and it was acting up today or the other day. So I took it in, and they could have reamed me. They could have said, oh, you need another new transmission. Oh, you need this, but they didn't. They said, well, we checked the sensor. We checked this. It's running fine now. I did a reset, and it's good. And they didn't even charge me for it. Because I would have been none the wiser if they could have said, oh, it needs to do this, it needs to do that. But it didn't. In the big truck world, it would have been like up to $5,000 when it was probably just a glitch in the computer. And I hear that story. This is not just an assumption. This is a story I hear over and over and over. And then the amount of I get all the alerts from Samsara when someone has an engine fault, whether it's it could be anything, right? It's even the littlest thing, like even a little ding, like because something wasn't right because of temperature or something like that will come across my my text alerts. And the complexity of these trucks is astounding, and it's hard to insulate yourself from damage from that. It's hard to insulate yourself, so you have to have a shop that's reputable and knows that, like, if you're showing a transmission fault, it's going to fix the transmission fault, not just throw a bunch of parts when it turns out it was the wiring harness, has nothing to do with the transmission. Then they throw that on there. Next thing you know, you're like $15,000 and nothing is fixed. Your truck is derating still because the computer says it needs to derate. I think that's probably that's a bigger challenge than broker transparency. That's a bigger challenge for any fleet owner. Even a company driver there's probably company drivers sitting in a hotel right now because their truck derated and it's a 2023. Meanwhile, warranty is paying for all the parts being thrown at it, and they're sitting in a hotel room not making miles, wondering if they're going to be able to make their next rent payment. The complexity of these trucks is what's killing a lot of businesses right now, and the government wants to shove that more EPA regulations, more DEF, more toxic fluid being thrown into the air. More plastic jugs inside cardboard boxes, right? Look, we can go on and on about not taking cheap freight or taking advantage of, yet truck drivers are the ones that keep coming back for more. Who's to blame? Insanity is doing the same thing over and over, blah, blah. Yep, I get it. I will have to watch replay. Super busy. Great insight, Steve. Thank you. Greg Zimmer says, good morning. Great talk yesterday. Sorry got cut short. So if you want to continue it today, we can. Although I do have to start looking for a load. Are you going to finally apologize to me today? Sure. Josh McLean, morning from Florida. DIY semi being silly. At least I don't think. I don't think I need. Man, I wonder if I ticked them off. I'm sorry I failed to get your trailer this week. My apologies for not keeping you up to date. Had another breakdown to take care of earlier this week. No worries, Don. It worked itself out anyways. There you go. So glad. I watched a video where it took a guy 2 weeks before he was able to book his first load, and it wasn't a stellar load at that. James G, hello, specialized in the industry. I found the niche in ag commodities. There you go. I'm with you on the driving while live streaming. I jump out when his truck starts moving. Your content is invaluable. Thank you. World-renowned dispatcher king. You find the $4 mile loads and $2 mile market. Yeah, but it's all shorties, right? I was seeing some pretty good loads come across my desk yesterday when I was doing the Raycons. There was one person had, I want to say it was like, no, I can't put those numbers out, but I was like, wow, holy crap, good deal. Good on you. JF Trucker, good morning. Steve, congratulations to Jeff on new office. Adding additional lease opportunities equals extra safety and dispatch work for you. Slow and steady, right? Slow and steady does win the race. It truly does. It's easy to survive a $5,000 truck note. You just live in the truck and have no life. Family, what's that? Hobbies. That's my new hobby, is polishing my $5,000 truck. Shit. I was just talking about you. Were your ears ringing? D.O., 2013 Cascadia at Schneider has made me some money, but 1,082,000 miles, increased maintenance, and weak freight rates. I'm questioning if I know what I'm doing. Jeff's lease purchase is attractive. Well, definitely hit him up. I mean, 1,000,000-mile truck, it's tough, man. Would I do that for like an old school Peterbilt, with a cat in it or something like that? Sure, absolutely. But, bare bones Cascadia, I don't know. Unfortunately, they make these trucks very luxurious and very sharp looking. Like, I like the looks of a new T680. I like that new Volvo looks kind of sharp. But, man, they're throwaway trucks, in my opinion. And they've made them that way. They want you to turn them in after 500,000 miles. They want you to keep making that truck payment. It would have been $3,200 to diagnose plus the labor, do absolutely nothing but tell you that you're going to have a $10,000 bill, right? Mrs. A saying hi to Shannon. A knowledgeable shop is worth their weight in gold. Last after treatment breakdown, they wasted probably $5,000 in unnecessary repairs. Intermittent diesel shutoff valve was the cause that they didn't find till week 2.5. Yes. That's what I'm talking about. Not good. It's your fault, carrier's fault, broker's fault, government's fault, everybody's fault but mine. And I made this decision. Oh, Randy, you're funny. Ghost Cat, the new trucks must rust really bad. Maybe the frames, but nothing else. Truckers Education Network, good morning. Dio, that's the guy to talk to about that lease purchase. Double D, trust me, you might want to buy yourself a used engine and have it laying around. Wish I did that with my 9400. Man, this Snorelord Berserker Bruce, I mean, could give you some. Oh, look at Shannon. Shannon, look, here's the deal. Shannon is the sales department. And she's good at sales. Every carrier needs a sales department. And she could be that person. She is that person, really. So, all right, let's take a look at some freight here. Let me do this. Let me mess with you guys a little bit. Here we go. All right, share the screen. We're on the 123 low board, 48065 if you want to try it out for free for 30 days. Look at that. Oh, my gosh. It's a bad market. If you're a boat hauler, this is what the market looks like. 0 loads in the boat haul market. So, anyways, I know that if you had a little heart attack, that's fine. That means you probably need to improve on something. Here you go. This is van. So, The fact that these are yellow instead of red is interesting. New Mexico being red, that's usually the case. California, Arizona were yellow earlier, but now they're green. Texas. Now, Sage brought up a good point about Mexico being the new China, pretty much. I mean, he didn't use that exact term, but it's essentially what's happening in South America. And so that means your border towns are going to be a little bit better. You know, Texas, not New Mexico as much, but Arizona and then, of course, California. And then, of course, you know, the Southeast has been pretty good volume-wise for a long time. And I've got a truck landing in Georgia today, and I have no worries I'm going to find him a good load coming out. And so it's what I'm finding is that east to west, coast to coast driving is very, very difficult when you're looking at your rate per mile or rate per day. And I'll give you an example. So let's take a look at New York. New York is green. Let's take a look at the loads. And let's sort this by highest rate, which usually brings up your long haul stuff. $1.63 to go to Arizona. $1.22 to go to California. $1.95 to go to Cheyenne, Wyoming. $1.74 to go to Denver. $1.23 to Phoenix, right? Now, if you're looking at a daily rate, let's take this Brooklyn, New York to Phoenix, Arizona. 86% below my cost per day. Now, this is van, and I put my van expenses at $358 a day. Okay, and that was based off the cost of my truck the last full year I was running. Okay, $51 a day profit from this load after fuel, after $350 worth of tolls. Not only that, but they expect you to do 2,500 miles in 3 days. Not good, is it? Now, I could sit here and dwell on this and say, oh, the broker's insane, and I can't believe that they're doing blah, blah. No, that doesn't help. You look at this load and go, well, that's stupid. And you call them with a ridiculous number, but guess what? Cargo Chief's got this at $33.99, so it's not much different from what it's been going for. And if you won't move it for that, they'll find somebody that will, and they'll let it sit on the dock for 2 or 3 or 4 or 5 days. Maybe it's kitty litter. Maybe it's just canned goods that have an expiration date of 2 years from now. They're not in a hurry for it. But let's look at something going south. See if we can find something going south. Now, it's also New York. That's part of the problem. But look, rates out in New York just aren't great anyways. Here's Albany, $1.80 Albany to Lawrenceville. Georgia, only 14% below my cost per day. And look, only $71 in tolls. Now it's resin, so it's going to be at 42 to 44,000 on this. Shorter period, so it's also 3 days. But here you're making $307 a day instead of $51 a day. And you're landing in a better market. Georgia is better than California, in my opinion. So if you look at any state, let's look at Wisconsin here. Washington, Washington, Nevada, not even breaking $2 a mile. Plant City, Florida, $2 a mile, $2.02 a mile. See, let's do a comparison. Fond du Lac, Wisconsin to Kent, Washington. Let's open this one up. Okay, they've got it posted at $1.68. Obviously, you're going to try to negotiate more, but let's say the broker's like, I ain't moving. That's all I got in it. You're at 1% below cost per day. You stand to make $353 a day on your net. That's after fuel and carrier's cut. Now, that's not including your truck payment. You can throw all that in here if you want. That's what this other additional cost you can put in, right? So that's $353 a day. But if we go down to this one going to Florida, $22% above my cost per day, I'm making $438 a day. And I'm not landing in Washington. Now, Florida, it sucks to get out and blah, blah, blah. Okay, I get that, but it sucks also to come out of Washington. I have a better time coming out of Florida than I would Washington. Now, if a reefer, that's different because there's freight up there for the reefer trailers up there. I said up there twice. That's dumb. Even though it does pay more per mile, but the overall rate is less, but I'm actually netting more. Well, let's see. No, 13, 15. What was the other one? What was the net on this one? $14.11. So I'm making $100 more. $100 more to go all the way out to Washington. Way more miles, right? Now that's on posted rates. Of course, you want to negotiate a little bit better, right? Jeff is also trying to sell the coffee. Snorelord Berserker Brew will give you the energy. Drive all day, wide-eyed and bushy-tailed. Drink the brew and you'll feel renewed. There is another brew coming. It's got to be finalized, and then I'll put that up. Plant Cities by JF Trucker. Steve, if I lease purchase a trucker like trucking, would you dispatch me until I slowly learn how to dispatch myself? I know lanes, not experience, but negotiating rates I have not done. Yes, absolutely, Dio. And here's the thing. A lot of Schneider guys, including myself, when they come over here, they realize it's a different game. The only similarity between us and the Schneider Choice Board is that you're self-dispatching. That's it. Your lanes are different. Your strategies are different. You don't have any drop and hook. And that throws a lot of people for a loop. I was primarily about 75 to 80% drop and hook when I was owner-operator at Schneider. And it was glorious because I could empty out and say, I don't know, Oklahoma City on a Friday night and then pick up something that night or in the morning on Saturday, whether the warehouse was open or not. All I got is a guard shack, and that dude's got all the paperwork. And that was cool. It takes a minute to not have that luxury. You trade the luxury of having your own trailer to... you lose the luxury of drop and hook, but then you have the luxury of having one trailer where you know what the tire is going to be like when you hook up. You know what the brakes are doing. You're not going to show up at a receiver and see that 5 tires are missing from the trailer. Or that, one time I went to a Caterpillar to pick up an empty trailer there in Pennsylvania, and the door was gone. I go back to check to make sure the trailer was empty, and there's a door sitting there going, "Yo, what's up?" It was on the it was on the floor. I'm like, this is a problem. So I believe they had me take the trailer over to the yard there because I wasn't too far from the Carlisle yard, but still, it was crazy. Like when you got a Snyder finance payment, which I didn't have, luckily, it makes it, man, one loss like that can throw your whole week off. So, this is why it's important to have lots of credit cards as an owner operator. That way you can run your business at a negative loss. How else are brokers supposed to make money? LOL. That's funny. Have I told you lately that I appreciate you, Safety Lord? Yeah, because I talk Shannon off of ledges all the time. I called her up on a load that she booked yesterday. I'm like, and she was freaking out, thinking it was 500 miles away. I'm like, no, it's actually 300. You're okay. So, look at a map. Dang it. All right. So, but I appreciate the compliments. But so your north south is going to be better. Let's see if we can find something going into Georgia. Now, Colorado always pays well. That's the only west destination that pays well. But then you're really taking a hit coming out. Now, it does pay decent to go from Wisconsin to PA, but you're also dealing with a lot of tolls, and then you're dealing with the backlash of coming out of Pennsylvania. So Wisconsin to Pennsylvania is usually a decent lane, depending on volumes. So if you're looking for a triangle, Wisconsin to Western PA, shorty from PA to Ohio, Ohio back up to Wisconsin. That's what I would do. Did I hear about the Connecticut tanker explosion? No, I did not. All right. Let's take a look at this. Eau Claire to Commerce City, Colorado. They're at $2,000. Croce's got it at 25. I would call and seriously ask for $3,000 on this. I would. And depending on the market in Eau Claire, they might come down to 28 off my 3. Colorado, it's a little bit easier to be it's a little bit easier to be aggressive, and so what we do, what I do, is that there are markets that you can be aggressive in. You want to ask for $3, go to Denver, ask for it. If you ask for $3 coming out of Miami, they're going to hang up on you. They might actually go out of their way to yell at you. And an experienced broker is going to look, he just asked for $3 a mile to go up to New York from Miami. Yeah, this guy has no idea what he's doing. I definitely don't want to use him as a carrier. And that might blacklist your whole carrier. You got to know how to price your stuff, right? You can sit there and give them my cost per day is exactly $348.28. So that times blah, blah, blah. So I need exactly $812. And no, you're not doing that. You're adding some cushion because you don't know when you're going to take a loss. Brokers do the same thing. They take losses on some things and they make 50% on others. Just like the truck drivers do. If your costs are $1.25 a mile and you're getting $3 a mile, ain't nobody having problems with that. So you got to price according to what the lane is paying, right? You got to know your lanes. You got to, and that's the biggest challenge with the Snyder guys, is that they don't know how to price themselves a lot of times because contract pricing is different. At Snyder, you don't negotiate your rate. You're just picking the load that works for you based off of their load board. And that's where a lot of the daily rate mindset comes in. was a lot of us over at Schneider dealing with that, because that's how you would have to look at it. I always went by a rate per day, and then, but if it got under a certain amount per mile, then I wouldn't look at it anymore. So, and that's kind of what I do now. You know, I'm not looking at these $20, $30 out to California. But if I had to do $1.40 to go from Denver to Kansas City, that's a better decision. Because that's still what, $600 for the day? And we just got $1,000 a day to go out there. See, it balances out. It's that simple. It really is. And that's, you know, I don't know. That's just how I think. If you agree with it, cool. If not, then okay. It doesn't matter, because I know what works for me. I know what's worked for drivers. You know, and I know what, I've been in the worst market and I've been in the best market as an owner operator, not just seeing it, but living it. And so that gives me a little bit of clout, I think. You know, my kids, they hear my conversations with drivers and about drivers, and I tell my family some of the things that I've encountered. And they're like, "Why do they do that, Dad?" I say kids, you know, one's 22 and the other one's 19. But they hear these conversations and they're like, "Why is this so complicated, Dad?" I'm like, "Well, because people make it complicated." You can't ask for $3 a mile on a $2 a mile market. You can try, but you're going to get frustrated. Nor should you be settling for $1.50 in a $2 mile market. And I saw a little bit of that yesterday. It's you got to find the balance of movement. You know, when to hold the line, when to fight the battle. It's as simple as that. You know, we as self-dispatch owner operators, we have the areas we like to run, and then there are areas that you need to run. And sometimes it's great when those are the same thing, but there are other times when they're not. I used to go to Dallas all the time. So, you know what? My business model accounts for some of the low paying freight that came out of Dallas at the time. And then I called a guy that had his own authority out of Dallas and said, "Hey, what do you do? What are you doing?" And then I just emanated what he did. And boom, I started making money. I started utilizing a market that a lot of people didn't want to go in. Same thing with the Denver. Same thing with Florida. We got a guy, I say it over and over and over, but it's true. Florida, Georgia, that's all he does. I am amazed when I look at his rate cons. And if Jeff's got me watching rate cons for the day, guess what? I probably got 3 or 4 loads from that dude. I need to interview him sometime, because he just makes it work, man. He's not sitting there. I don't even think he watches us on YouTube. He might step in and say hi, but that's it. I mean, he's busy hustling, all legally, of course. And he's making it work, and he's supporting a family, and he's got an older truck. He's making it work. Don says, if you have good relationship with the broker, you definitely get better than market rates. There's a reason I rarely use Credit Safe, and it's because I rarely use new brokers. And that's true. That is true. Repeat customers, what wins in this market? It's what wins in any market. Chasing the top dollar on every low board can get stressful because it'll put you in situations that are going to be difficult to come out of sometimes. Now, those difficulties make you a stronger, better driver. I get that. But after about 2 or 3 years of that kind of stress, man, it does a toll on his body, on your body. I've seen it firsthand. And so it's good to just find a groove and stay in it. I know somebody that's been in the same groove for 5 years and he's doing great. He's not griping about the current market because he's found this groove, and it kept his head above water in the bad markets, and he was doing pretty good in the good markets. Didn't stray from that customer, and guess what? He pretty much runs that now. It's a lot of people are like, well, it's not rocket science, man. Just drive the truck. I can't believe you're complicating things. I'm not complicating it. You look in a market and you go. Right? Do you like my voice? I don't know who I was imitating there, but that was dumb, right? And I predict you're going to see better paying freight coming out of Texas. Let's do that. Let's take a look at Texas. This is dry, man. Let's look at outbound. Sort this by highest rate. Now, the rate per mile is probably going to bring a lot of Texas interstate. See, you're making more money to go to Seattle out of Texas than you would New York or Wisconsin. $1.84 to Pennsylvania from Laredo. That's kind of low. $2.18 a mile to go from Laredo to Fort Pierce, Florida. For all you snowbirds, you can run that. Laredo to Florida is a decent lane. But, make sure you just don't go too far south. But then you take that $1.30 a mile to come out of southern Florida, or you just deadhead to northern Florida, grab a shorty from there, and then from Georgia you can go wherever you want. Here we go. So let's look at the highest rate per mile. It's going to be all intrastate stuff. There we go. 3.11 a mile to go from Texas to Oklahoma. A lot of stuff going to Lawton. See, when you see this, PLS has literally 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11. They have literally 11 loads. PLS Logistics has 11 loads going from McKinney, Texas to Lawton, Oklahoma. They got one for the 14th, the 15th, the 16th. So they got one a day. You call them up and say, hey, man, what's the story with these? And then maybe you could set up something that's from Oklahoma back to Texas. Boom. Now you have out and back, and you're running barely, 200 miles a day. Here's Dallas to Pryor. I like this load. Why? It's paying $800, $805, $296 a mile. Pryor, Oklahoma, kind of gets you near the Joplin market, or the Tulsa market at least. The Joplin market's a good market. I would take this load. And they're $200 above or $100 above the cargo chief, which tells me that this market is heating up a little bit. 34% above my cost per day. Picks up at 1, so you're not worried about Dallas traffic too much, and it delivers at 6 a.m. and prior, which, there's a couple of truck stops, depending on where this is going. There's some truck stops that you'll get there at any time, and you'll find parking. Boom, you're good to go. I would do this load and try to go in early at the shipper. SST, what's up? Desert Okie Pan, good morning. I saw you sneak in here. TC Boggs, if I were to get my own truck again, I'd definitely use a service like yours, Snorelord. I don't have time to continually haggle for shekels at the bazaar. That's funny. Well, thank you for the compliment. I find it almost impossible to build any relationship with the broker in this market. No matter how good of a job I've done or bent over backwards to meet their needs, I have yet to see a second load. That I've seen that too. Like, there's a balance, right? I keep using this word balance, and it sounds like a broken record. But the reality is that there are brokers that appreciate it, but then their higher ups are telling them you need to lower this rate. And WCF Invaders firsthand experience that. The relationship is only superficial at times. It's not like if you sold your truck, the broker's going to call you, man, I really miss you, man. I wish you were driving still. They're not, you're like, oh, well, that sucks. He was a good one. Next. That's how it is. But I've seen, it doesn't mean a person can't try. Like, a lot of people just, like, oh, well, brokers don't value relationships. Well, I know several that do. And those people help me make money, and they help their carriers make money. And they keep their bosses off their back because they're constantly moving these loads at a higher quality. So, but it is a balance game, and I agree with you, cents per mile. It takes a while. And then a lot of times you could have a relationship with a broker, but maybe they lose all their freight. Maybe they undercut everybody and they need you to come down another $150, $200. And you're like, well, that becomes unsustainable. And they're like, well, that sucks. I really wish I could use you. Well, $200, you can use me. Right? Don says, don't get me wrong, I'm one constantly contacting them, but when I put in my offer, there's no negotiating. They just accept it. Granted, I'm not giving a ridiculous offer either. JF used to live in Tulsa. That's my point. They aren't calling you. They're still digging around. Jackknife says, man, I would be pulling my hair out if I would never move the truck for anything lower than $2 a mile, at least today with the inflated cost to do business. You don't have much hair. Sure, 25 cents over cost is technically profit, but who the hell wants to run a business that's always tuning around the edge of disaster? Mrs. A says, I still kind of miss that broker agent used to have. I forgot his name, the MMA guy. He was awesome. Yes. Gerald, man, he was great. Not only did he help me quite a bit, but every driver I turned him on to, that driver would call me and like, Steve, that was the greatest thing ever. Thank you very much. And honesty is the most important thing. Like, there's somebody I use at a big brokerage that will say, Steve, this is a stinker. I can't get anything on this. Let's find something else. And then he's given me $300 or $400 to $500 more than what I originally asked for. Like, did I price this too low? He goes, no, we've just got it at this level, and I know the lane pays this, but I know that we're actually paying this, so here you go. Sweet, thank you. It's a give and take. There are times when he's like, man, I can only do 12 on this, and I'm looking at 15. I'm like, He's like, man, I might be able to squeeze out this much. It's a back and forth dynamic that's pretty cool. And that's the person that Mrs. A is talking about. He was really great at that. And that's worth its weight in gold as well. Because I know a couple of drivers for a bigger carrier that do a lot of contract freight, and they use spot to go back to their contract freight. And what happens is their dispatcher isn't good with an agent at a big brokerage. And that dispatcher goes, I've got 100 trucks. Where do you need them? And so he's not on a low board. And that broker is happily, because they're making their profit. So it's not like they're moving for pennies, but it's a give and take relationship, because the contract freight that they're doing can't have any failure rate to the point that they'll deadhead back. And that's the thing. There's a lot of people taking, that there are people taking that $1.20 to go out to California because the load out of California that went to New York was paying so well. And at the end of the day, it balances. And that's what you're in competition with. So, but, so this McKinney to Lawton, Oklahoma, let's, and notice they're all priced the same. If I wasn't for the legalities, worried about the legalities, I would call this broker to see what they say about it. Actually, let's do that. Let's click on this. Let's see if they have a message here. We can instant message them. This is a cool feature on 123 I really enjoy. All right, so McKinney, Texas, Lawton, Oklahoma. Now, would I make a career out of this? Probably not, but I'm curious about this. Bundle cardboard, so it's recycling. And they have a message. Good morning. Is this load still available? I have to say that out loud because I always misspell. Enter. Now, they may or may not answer. Now, the way 123 works, it's already given, all my information, my truck, all that stuff. And if they don't see this message, they'll get an email. And after, I think, what's it say? Messages will be delivered via email. If they are unread for more than 1 minute, please call if the issue is urgent. And a lot of times, if I'm just casually looking, I'll use this messenger thing. And I've actually booked loads with it. And then I can close this, and if I go back to the board, it shows that I've messaged these people about this load. And then, of course, the message thing pops up here. Now, whether they answer or not, that's a different story. But I'm noticing that with emails as well. Now, they've got Waco to Texas to Lawton, Oklahoma. Pays a little bit better on the rate per day. So obviously, maybe the shipper is not from the origin; it's the destination. So whatever service is in Lawton, Oklahoma, that's where it's going. That's probably who's paying for this freight. 1,600 go to Albuquerque from Grand Prairie. Of course, not much coming out. Let's click on that one. That picks up Monday. You're looking at 640 miles. Now, 1,600 in 1 day? Yep, picks up at 2, delivers at 9 a.m. Now, it's a bit of a stretch for 640 miles, but you're out west. Speed limit are higher out there, Appliances. Appliances usually pay pretty good, right? So, but look at the freight coming out of New Mexico. 0. So you're looking at a pretty decent deadhead to come out. And so you don't sit there and just see, here's the thing. Let's say I do this load. So it delivers May 7th, 9 a.m. So yeah, that's $1,600 for one day. But here's how I look at it. That's a 2-day rate. I can afford to do this 2 days. So you know what? I find the closest good load from Albuquerque, which is probably going to be El Paso. It's going to be the El Paso market. And then book that for May 8th, right? So that would be Wednesday. And then I'm still getting $800 a day. If I continue that trend of whatever the load I get out of El Paso or wherever, right? So would I do this load? It probably wouldn't be my first choice, but at the grand scheme of things, if I was in Dallas area and I needed to go west, this would be a good load. But understanding that Albuquerque, New Mexico sucks when it comes to freight, you have to know that. Now, if this is in the fall, well, you've got pumpkins that come out of Farmington. There are peanuts that come out of New Mexico. There's copper that comes out of New Mexico that you can put in a van. So it's all on how you look at it. I'm not going to sit there at the Flying J there in Albuquerque and dwell on the fact that there's no loads. I'm sure there's something on one of the load boards. Remember, a lot of brokers aren't using load boards right now. So just because 1, 2, 3 has 0, well, let's take a look at DAT real quick. I'm not biased. I curse all the load boards. 48065 if you want to try out the 1, 2, 3 load board for free for 30 days. Here you go. Let me get logged in here. Oh, it just logged me in automatically. That's funny. All right, share the screen here. All right, search loads. So Albuquerque for the 8th. Actually, we'll do for the 7th, right? That's when we deliver. Albuquerque, New Mexico. Let's do a 200-mile radius. Going anywhere. Now, it's going to be also low load count because why? Because it's a week from now. So we'll do the 7th and the 8th. Search. 7 results. And look, there's an Albuquerque right back to Lawton, Oklahoma. So obviously, whatever receiver is in Lawton is shipping hot and heavy right now. Now, this is $775, okay? So if I do that load, and it also picks up anytime between the 6th and the 9th. Let's click on this. Doesn't say anything special. It's right at the market. In fact, they're a little bit above the 30-day on this. So if I pick this up and then deliver it in Lawton, Oklahoma, now I'm 3 days. Well, actually, no, I'm at 3 days of what's 16 plus 8? Or no, not 8. Well, let's say I get them up to 8. But even if we do 700, that's still a good rate per day, even though I just moved this low for $1.48 a mile. And Oklahoma, I'll tell you, Lawton, Oklahoma is a lot better than Albuquerque. Now, I might get them up $25 to get them up to 800, but they're already above the 727. So if I'm sitting there going, well, I ain't moving this truck for less than $2 a mile, then this load doesn't look good to me. But when you combine this one with the load I got to Albuquerque from Dallas, obviously it delivers the next day. Hopefully, being in, 523 miles with 0 deadhead. So let's do the math on that. So 1,600 plus 800, because I'm very confident in my negotiating skills. That's 2,400 in how many days? From May 6th to May 8th. 24 divided by 3, that's $800 a day. Probably shouldn't need a calculator for that, but hey, math is hard. $800 a day in this market, in van, for simple runs out west with no traffic other than Dallas and parts of Albuquerque. Man, that's not bad money. And let's say I do that 3 times in 1 week. Boom. 24 times 3. That's a $7,200 week. Well, that's not right, because there's only 7 days in the week. Let's say you can do 2 runs like that, twice, back and forth. That's a $4,800 week. And you're not even running at your clock. So if you can land in Dallas, back in Dallas or back in Oklahoma on Friday, take something out of Joplin and go wherever you want for a decent rate. There's your week. Scorpion Trucker, good morning from Wapaka, Wisconsin. 14 delivered, 6 more to go. I'm going to touch base with you today, Scorpion. And everybody check out his channel. He had a really good video. Chief Freight Hauler says good morning. Josh the Vegan says good morning. In order to clear average $2 a mile after giving Jeff's cut of 20%, I would need an average book $250 a mile freight in spot market. Is that possible? If not, what can I average per mile? We're going to have a conversation, Dio, privately. So if you would, email me, snorelord@yahoo.com, and then we can, or have Jeff give you my number if you got his number. I just got to wake up from the 3-letter broker everyone hates, haven't hauled for them in over 6 months. Georgia capacity must be tightening. It is. So, but anyways, guys, Pop-Tart, see you sneak in here. Good morning. Counting trucks. You didn't miss much. Your costs are $800 a day, Jackknife. Holy cow, dude. I'm going to take a swig of coffee while I ponder that for a minute. Insurance just went up. Yeah, we talked about that earlier. Insurance going up. So if you had your authority, yeah, that's why we get your authority. Interstate Nebraska, what about it? You want to look at Nebraska? Here we go. It's red. And intrastate, there's one load. Broken Bow, Nebraska to Norfolk. $3.18 a mile though, right? Everybody says that 3 is the magic number. $500 for 157 miles. We'll click on this load, and it's for Monday. So if you plan on going to Nebraska and you just want to stay in the state there, Marty, here you go. Recycled newsprint, 20 bales. So it's a lovely load just for Marty there. Marty loves this load. So get 2 of these in 1 day, you're good to go. Anyways, guys, thanks for watching. I appreciate you. Hopefully you'll have a good week, or hopefully you've had a good week. If you're heading towards your home time, enjoy your home time. And maybe we'll go live Saturday. I don't know. I know I went live last Saturday and nobody watched. So, and with that being said, also check out my Snorelord OG channel. That's where I do the non-trucking stuff, if I can help it. And then the links for the 123 low board. Let me put the banner up here. 48065 is the code if you want to check it out. If you are interested in Jeff's lease purchase program, our our email, and well, our website is on there, liketrucking.com. Check out, shoot Jeff an email, and see what else. Oh, and I've got coffee. Shannon is the salesperson for the coffee, and I will have a second flavor here within the next day or so. So with that being said, thanks for watching. Strength for today, hope for tomorrow. Aggression turns the screws, and whatever other catchphrase that I can think of while I'm fumbling around looking for my video file. So with that being said, later guys, peace.